Local stories you care about. WLBB, Carrollton, News Talk 1330, FM 106.3.
It is now 8:30. Good Friday morning. Welcome to the WLBB Community Voice program here on News Talk 1330, FM 106.3. And this morning, we are streaming live on the News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page. So if you're curious about our guest this morning, take a gander on the News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page. Let me turn up my mic here a little bit at the direction of Mr. Steve Graddick. My guest this morning, Republican Tyler Paul Smith. This week he did announce his candidacy for Georgia House of Representatives, the District 18 seat, which is currently held by Kevin Cook. Cook's, I believe this is his 10th year that he's had that seat. Not much of a challenge on the Republican side. I don't believe any time over the decade. Maybe one time was challenged. Had a couple Democratic challengers. But he's been in that seat for 10 years. Did announce that this would be his last session as he plans to qualify to seek a congressional seat. And I'm sure we'll talk with Kevin Cook more in the future. But today, let us introduce you to Tyler Paul Smith, although I feel like plenty of people already do know you just based on the information we put on Facebook with the announcement, and I feel like you're probably pretty well known in your native Haralson County. I might ask you a little closer to the mic. And good morning.
Good morning. Glad to be with y'all.
And we appreciate you. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
On the intent to qualify. Qualifying is actually the first or second week of March.
Yes, indeed it is. And then we have the election on May the 19th. Hope to avoid a runoff, whatever may occur, but we'll be ready for that as well. And looking forward to meeting all of our constituents as we go out these next few months and share our message of smaller government and sustaining life, protecting our liberties and values, as well as stronger business environments that we look to create here in the West Georgia area.
And we hope people get a good idea of who you are based on this show, and we'll try and touch on some topics, but I think I will let you lead the majority of the show just to kind of give us an idea of who you are, and we'll talk more in the future after qualifying, maybe about specific things. Well, give us your background. Native Haralson County.
Yes, native Haralson County. Grew up on Cashtown Road. I still reside on Cashtown Road. Spent 19 years there before going off to college. I attended and graduated from the Citadel Military College of South Carolina in Charleston, and had a great experience there, but knew that I needed to come back home to my West Georgia area, because I had planned to become a lawyer and knew that practicing law in my home area would benefit those who had given so much to me growing up. And I really felt that need. Still have good friends in the South Carolina and area, and we stay in contact. However, West Georgia's home. And being a fifth-generation farmer on our small family farm, that was close to my heart as well, was to come back and help manage our family farm along with my father and my brother.
And let me say at this point, Tyler Paul Smith is the first person to announce his intention to seek this seat. And again, qualifying not until March. There are some people out there who have talked about it, have considered it, but at this point, Tyler's the first one to go out there and say, hey, I'm going to do this. Would you have challenged Kevin Cook if he would have stayed in this seat this year?
No.
Or sought re-election?
No, I would not. And benefit our constituents here in the 18th District. So it was a great experience. And Kevin, he is a fantastic representative for this area, and hope that he'll make a great congressman for us as well in the 14th District.
Now you're a lawyer now?
I am. I practice law out of Villa Rica. However, we cover 9 different counties, including all of West Georgia, and it keeps us pretty busy, but it's a very gratifying work.
Do we need another lawyer in House of Representatives?
Well, that's for the voters to decide. I will submit that when you're going through the policy-making process, there are certain nuances to the law as far as how this code section may affect the other code sections within our state code. And having that knowledge, you can understand what will be affected, what the pros and cons are, whereas someone else might not necessarily pick up on that right away. They can learn it. I worked for plenty of individuals who had become very good masters of the policy-making process. that did not have law degrees. So I do feel like it gives you an advantage, though, and we've had a mass exodus of attorneys from the General Assembly, and I think we're starting to see that is really affecting our policy-making processes.
District 18, it's all of Haralson County?
No, it's the majority of Haralson County. Trey Kelly's got 5 precincts in the northern half, but now it encompasses all of the municipalities in Haralson County.
And it's one of 4 in Carroll County, right?
Yes, it is. It is.
What's the line for Carroll County?
So the line for Carroll County, it comes down off of Loving Road. We get part of the West Georgia, University of West Georgia, excuse me, and we come through. We pick up the Carroll EMC area and the what you would consider the old part of Carrollton around the lake there, and we go out as far west as Indian Creek Road. That's the southern boundary on Highway 100. We have all of Mount Zion, Kansas Jake, and so I'm not unfamiliar with that territory. My father's family actually settled in the Indian Creek area back in 1828 when it first opened for settlements. So I have strong connections both to Haralson and Carroll County, as well as some family in both areas.
Interest in being a legislator, how long has that been part of you?
It probably goes back at least 20 years. My parents have been grassroots activists since the late 80s, especially in the Republican Party. Mm-hmm. So I was really born into it, and it wasn't necessarily a choice per se, being born into it. But that interest really started to grow when I was around 10 years old, and it has just blossomed over time. Even in college, I was a political science major at the Citadel, and so a lot of folks focus on the federal government. And that's all well and good. There's a lot of,
and they do tend to combine the job of them too. I mean, we talk to people all the time. Let's say, and then people may ask you questions. You're like, well, that's kind of the feds.
Exactly. So I noticed the difference, and for me, the urge to learn more about state and local politics, I saw there was a need for that. There were not many schools in the state of South Carolina that studied state and local politics only. There was a move in academia there to only study the federal government side of things. So I really focused on every bit of state and local politics that I could get my hands on, even doing an independent study on how political action committees and interest groups work at the state and local level. It wasn't published, but one day maybe we'll get around to working on that or ship it off to a PhD level.
I'm guessing you live in the District 31 Senate?
Yes, I do.
Why choose the House seat? With District 31, Bill Heath announced that he won't seek re-election this year either. Why pick the House over the Senate? How do you see those being different?
Well, having worked in the House, I have a lot of friends still over at the State House of Representatives, and that was the House that I worked for. Nothing against the State Senate. They have a great group of folks that have been elected to office over there, and I consider many of them friends. However, the House of Representatives, it's a very intricate network of individuals, and having to build relationships among so many different representatives, that's a challenge. I don't know that I've ever backed down from a challenge. That may be part of it, but the House side, I mean, that's where the budget originates. And so that is one of the most important aspects of being a legislator. Really, that's the only thing they're required to do is pass a budget every year. Mm-hmm. So being a part of that process and having seen that process in action, it draws you to the House.
Republican Tyler Paul Smith, our guest on this morning's Community Voice program. He's the first to announce his candidacy for the Georgia House of Representatives District 18 seat, after Kevin Cook announced this week, who is the current District 18 state representative. He announced this week that he's going to run for Congress this year. But we do expect more people to look at this position and consider qualifying, but qualifying is not until March. As Tyler's our guest this morning, we do encourage you to watch it on the Facebook Live page, and you can post your questions and comments there, and I'll take a peek at those during the break, and we'll bring those back after when we do return. Also, you can call us 678-601-8255. That's 678-601-TALK. We'll take our first break and come back with more Tyler Paul Smith on this morning's Community Voice.
A well-rounded education includes much more than just academics. At Oak Mountain Academy, we encourage our students to find their niche in any of our 42 co-curricular opportunities. Over the past 5 years, we have brought home 5 state and 20 regional athletic titles. Our one-act play and literary teams continuously compete at the region and state level, and our academic teams bring home first place more than not. We are warriors creating legacies. To learn more, visit oakmountain.us.
At Tanner, we're advancing health throughout West Georgia and East Alabama because we know that exceptional care isn't based on how many patients we serve, but how well we serve them. That's why we're focused on quality, delivering the best possible care for our patients. It's why we're expanding our clinical services and building new facilities to serve our growing community. And it's why we're looking beyond our hospitals and medical practices to develop sustainable wellness and preventive health programs in our region. What makes a hospital great has changed. It's not how many beds we have. It's how well we care for the neighbors who need them. Delivering the right care to every patient, every time, is how Tanner is advancing health with medicine beyond measure. Learn more at tanner.org. or find a physician on our medical staff by calling 770-214-CARE.
.840, welcome back to the WLBB Community Voice Program, News Talk 1330, FM 106.3. Our program is sponsored by Tanner Health System and Oak Mountain Academy. I'm your host this morning, Colin Worthington. Our guest is Tyler Paulsmith. He is the first candidate to announce his candidacy for the Georgia House of Representatives District 18 seat, which Kevin Cook does currently sit in, and he decided that he will not seek re-election this year in order to seek Congress. I do encourage your comments and questions up on the News Talk 1330 Facebook page. Jay Collins, who District 68 state rep, he says good luck. Stephanie Sarasa, I hope I said your last name right, Stephanie. Hi, good morning. Tyler, can you tell us more about your Citadel education? Tell us how it's impacted your views on services for post-911 veterans.
Well, you know, I probably have a few more classmates from college that are serving in the military and public service positions such as police and fire departments. I know I have a close classmate from Franklin, Georgia. He was a firefighter even while we were there. And so everyone that attended the Citadel at the time I was there, at least, I can't speak for right now, but there was always a sense of duty and service to our country, our state, our local governments, to help make our communities a better place for everyone. So I think that call is instilled in every one of us. It was a conservative liberal arts college. You don't find many of those. And so it was a great proving ground where you could learn about conservative principles. It goes far beyond just the buzzwords you may hear from time to time, especially in campaigns. We really searched those topics and discussed what they meant and to explain why we're conservative.
Gabriel Pritchard also says, go Tyler. Don't want to leave her out
Appreciate
there. Again,
that.
questions and comments, feel free to post them up on the News Talk 1330 Facebook page. I figured Joel will let me know if new ones pop up. Otherwise, I'll see them during the break. During your initial press release, the announcement of your candidacy, you did list some main goals for your candidacy. One of them is smaller government. I think our listening base, majority of them probably appreciate that.
Yes, so smaller government, smaller government is smarter government. When you have smaller government, you have less room for waste. You see a lot of agencies at the federal level, they're going to spend all the resources allotted to them in a year because they're afraid of having their budgets cut if they are found to have not spent everything allotted to them. So that creates a problem. That is just spending money to spend money. And any smart business person knows that is a recipe for disaster. So smaller government also would equal for us in the 18th, which we're lucky. We have a great small government-oriented community. But we have to be careful and continue to press for smaller government because the private sector always comes up with the best solutions. The government has stepped in from time to time to try to put a Band-Aid on something, but we need more than just a Band-Aid a lot of times. And so the private sector has always risen to the occasion throughout our history as a country. You can look at FDR's programs, and really there are a few still intact. One that I look out over our farm every day and see was the terraces that prevent water erosion. So that is something that is lasting from that era, but we don't have those programs anymore necessarily. So the private sector, you see private contractors that come in and help with erosion control. So you see that the private sector is much better suited. They're much better at innovation, finding smart solutions to problems that society may face.
Can you think of something in particular in state government right now that maybe is swollen and doesn't, maybe some positions could be cut or?
Well, the Department of Transportation, that department we have seen has ballooned over the last 50 years in our state, and that is really a department that, if elected, I will be looking at and making sure that all the fat is trimmed from it, because our private contractors, many of them here in the West Georgia and North Georgia areas, they do a really good job at taking care of business, of making sure that our highways and local roads are maintained, and their product is much, much better than the comparative version that government could offer us. So really the Department of Transportation is the first that comes to mind for me.
Tyler Paul Smith, our guest on this morning's Community Voice program. Now we do have a phone call. Let's give this a shot. Good morning. You're on the Community Voice. Hey, good morning. Let's try this one. That's not it. All right. I guess they've hung up. Or, Steve, did you punch them through the board there? Okay, we'll try that again. All right. Good morning. You're on the Community Voice.
Good morning, Colin. It's Norma Jean King. How are you?
Good morning, Norma Jean.
I just want to tell Tyler Paul Smith that if he is going to govern the way that Kevin Cook governs, Kevin is a fantastic legislator, and Tyler Paul will have my support. And I wish that he, like I've told Kevin many times, I wish that Kevin were my legislature, and anything I can do to help this campaign, I will.
Well, we appreciate that very much, and I can tell you from working with Kevin over 2 different legislative sessions, he and I agree on just about every issue. I can't really think of any issue that he and I agree on. We are very like-minded. So I hope to continue the same kind of conservative governing style that Representative Cook has employed the last decade.
Okay, well, put me down as a volunteer.
We appreciate that very much.
Thanks for checking in, Norma
thank
Jean.
you.
Have a good morning. Talk about your experiences with Kevin. I've known Kevin for 10 years, had him on this show plenty. Sometimes I feel like I don't want to call him the outcast of the House, but sometimes I feel like I have this image of him being set aside just because he's not going to budge on a lot of things. I mean, I can probably think of one thing that I felt like he may have been swayed over the last decade. I mean, is that how you see that? And I guess, how do you feel about that? Is that the way to govern? Is that the way to represent the 18th District?
Well, always standing on your principles, that's what people are looking for in their representative government. There are several friends, once I announced that I was going to be running for the State House seat, they disagree with me on several different policy issues, but just because I've always been a person of principle and stood on my principles, people will respect you for that. So even though he may have been cast as an outsider, I think he always garnered respect from other House members for taking the stand that he has for conservative government principles. Mm-hmm. And, if someone wants to make you an outcast because of that stand, then, so be it. There are certain things worth standing up for.
And I do think the voters here, the voters who do vote for him, I mean, they appreciated that. They noticed that. But I think at times Kevin felt like he couldn't get something across to other House members. He couldn't get another bill out that he might have been interested in.
Right. Well, we've been told by the Bible that people have ears to hear, but they won't hear. So sometimes that's not necessarily the speaker's fault or the person trying to get the message through. It's the listeners. So buy-in. That's always key, though.
Republican Tyler Paul Smith, our guest on this morning's Community Voice program, first candidate to announce that he will qualify for that District 18 State House Rep seat that will be vacant next year, as Kevin Cook will not seek re-election. So a new term will start in the year 2021. Election is May
19th.
Then that's the primary.
Yes.
So then qualifying will be in March. We'll take our second break, come back and wrap up our program with Tyler Paul Smith here on the Community Voice program, sponsored by Tanner Health System and Oak Mountain Academy on News Talk 1330 FM 106.3.
At Tanner, we're advancing health throughout West Georgia and East Alabama because we know that exceptional care isn't based on how many patients we serve, but how well we serve them. That's why we're focused on quality, delivering the best possible care for our patients. It's why we're expanding our clinical services and building new facilities to serve our growing community. And it's why we're looking beyond our hospitals and medical practices to develop sustainable wellness and preventive health programs in our region. What makes a hospital great has changed. It's not how many beds we have. It's how well we care for the neighbors who need them. Delivering the right care to every patient, every time, is how Tanner is advancing health with medicine beyond measure. Learn more at tanner.org or find a physician on our medical staff by calling 770-214-CARE.
At Oak Mountain Academy, our daily schedule includes convocation, prayer, and the Pledge of Allegiance. By doing so, we build a family-like community where all students grow and flourish and personal faith is encouraged. Through community service and a historical approach to biblical study, our students are taught the value of the warrior way, honesty, respect, and responsibility. Oak Mountain Academy, we are a family creating legacies. To learn more, visit oakmountain.us.
8:52. Welcome back to the WLBB Community Voice program here on News Talk 1330 FM 106.3. And this morning, streaming live on the News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page. Do encourage you to go back and watch that program if you missed any of it early on with our guest, Tyler Paul Smith. He is the first candidate to announce interest in qualifying for the District 18 State House seat. Represents a good portion of Carroll County and Haralson County. None in Paulding County at all, right?
No, Paulding County, just Haralson and Carroll County.
Well, good deal. We tried to, in the last segment, we did kind of touch on some of the things that you mentioned in your initial candidacy announcement. Talked about your interest in smaller government, sustaining life.
Yes, so sustaining life, we have seen over the last 60 years that the complete devastation that abortion being legalized throughout this nation has wrought on our society. I mean, look at the birth rate comparison from 2008 or from 2018 until 1918. I mean, it is significantly lower. And the key thing for people to realize about 1918, we were in World War I. I mean, there was mass loss of life due to that war. And so it's a great comparison for us to realize that protecting life, I mean, every individual, and it comes down to a worldview. It really does. And my worldview is that every individual is made in the image of God. That child in the womb, that is made in the image of our Creator. And for me to kill the unborn, that is just intolerable. We cannot allow that to happen. There needs to be a change of heart on this issue, and it is really near and dear to me. My best friend since second grade just had his first child, and getting to hold him in my arms the other night, it was just
the child, not your best friend.
The child, not my best friend. No. But to hold him in my arms, and I thought, how in the world could someone not want such a bundle of joy in their life? And it really, I don't just say that because it's a campaign slogan. I believe every point that I articulate.
We have about 5 minutes left in the show. Do want to give you a chance to touch on all of your topics. Protecting our liberties and values.
Yes, so protecting our liberties and values, that encompasses every constitutional right that we have. And I as an attorney, I fight to protect the Constitution every day. And so for me, I take it very serious. That's how I earn my living, is protecting the Constitution. And so we look at protecting our religious liberties, that's under assault. You see it every day in the media. They think that because we may be of a Christian faith that we are backwards thinking. And that is something we really have to watch as we see the country become more secularized. We need to make sure that our religious liberties are protected, not only our freedom of conscience, but freedom of our work to convert others to our faith, not allowing those to be encroached upon any more than what they have, and also in protecting our liberties and values, protecting the Second Amendment right to bear arms. To me, I don't feel like we should have to write any law concerning what our gun rights should be. I think the Second Amendment's pretty self-sufficient within itself. However, being a individual who has to do plenty of legal research, I understand that we do have gun laws on the books. So to make for stronger gun law protection, that is what I have already been about. I've working as a legislative aide for Representative Cook and others. We had a pretty big gun bill that was being debated at the time, and it was a great debate to see how everybody felt about the issue. But really, we've got to stand on the watch walls, especially for the Second Amendment, and to protect that right, because how do you protect all your other rights? Sometimes that may require force.
8:56, 3 minutes. You did talk about the Second Amendment. Haralson County, your native Haralson County, their Board of Commissioners right now is discussing becoming a sanctuary county for the Second Amendment. As an attorney, what legal advice would you give them? Does that really stand up?
Well, you know what? Whether it stands up or not, you never know until you try. I mean, that is... we always have a saying that if you've got a good enough case, you can go make some case law on it. So I think it's worth parsing through. You never know the parameters until you test it. We see that all the time.
And you just hope it's never necessary.
Right. You hope it's never necessary. Always using restraint forces the last course of action that we want to find ourselves in. I think we have plenty more diplomatic ways of resolving issues than resulting to force, because I deal with individuals who have taken force into their own hands, and those consequences are very serious.
Tyler Paul Smith, our guest on this morning's Community Voice program, the first candidate to announce that he does plan to qualify for the District 18 race this year. Qualifying is March. The election for the primary is in May. How can people get in touch with you? Like Norma Jean, who called up and said she'd like to help you on your campaign. How do people like that get in touch with you?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll give you my cell number. It is 678-378-8177. Call me anytime, day or night. I might be in court having to defend the Constitution and fight for my clients, but if you'll leave me a message, I'll get back to you as soon as I can, and I welcome anybody who has questions for me and what I stand for. I'm for conservative government, Colin, and I believe that. I believe that's the best way. Keep government out of the way, let the private sector and people's liberties will flourish.
Do you have a website up already?
We do. It is VoteTylerPaulSmith.com.
How about Facebook and all that good stuff?
Oh, yes, you can find us on Facebook at Vote Tyler Paul Smith as well.
Okay. Tyler, it's good to see you again. I think I met you about 5 years ago. It was up at the Capitol.
Yes,
there was something going on with Haralson County, and they were doing a presentation.
Yes, sir.
And I remember they had Chick-fil-A.
Yes, sir.
And, of course, I met you, too.
God's calories right there.
Thank you for coming in. I hope everybody had a chance to meet you a little bit and kind of get an idea of what you're about. And hopefully we'll bring you back in after qualifying and as the race gets going. Do appreciate you tuning in this morning. As other candidates do announce their intention to run, we will bring them on the program as well, and after qualifying, of course. And there's plenty of other races that are going on during this primary, too. So over the next couple of months, we'll have a lot of candidates for a lot of those local races on our program. Again, Tyler, good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
Community Voice, brought to you by Tanner Health System and Oak Mountain Academy here on News Talk 1330 FM 106.3. Have a great weekend, everybody.